the great thing, the koan is almost like looking at these lines. It's almost like a parallel storyline in a way. You know, we're always walking around with all these stories about our lives, right? We've all got a narrative about our lives, who we are, where we came from, where we're going, what we want, what has happened, what it means, right? All these stories, and sometimes those stories conflict, and sometimes they don't. But I think one of the things that Zen points us toward, and this is not just koan Zen, but maybe all Zen, I don't know, speak for koan Zen, I'll speak for my Zen, is about how limiting those stories can be, right? Even the positive stories. I'm a wonderful person, right? Jesse's a really wonderful person. Well, what about when I do something that's not wonderful? Right? What if I say something wrong and it hurts my wife? Or what if I cheat on my taxes? Or what if I, right? So even the limiting stories, well, then there's an internal conflict about, well, I thought I was a wonderful person, but then I cheated on my taxes. And so there's this thing about, if we step outside of the stories, the world is much larger, right? And that means we get more of everything, in a way, and that means we get more of the, in a way, we get more of the painful stuff too, but there's space for that, which is kind of the wonderful thing. It's not that I don't grieve when somebody dies. It's not that I don't get angry when somebody disrespects me, but there's more space. It doesn't have to be wrong, that I'm angry, or that I'm sad, or that things didn't go my way, or that I lost a job, or that I lost a loved one, or so it opens up the possibility that actually everything in the universe might be okay. And so that's what it's like, you know, to step out of our stories. And so what koans do is kind of almost provide like an alternative that we can hop from our usual stories into this other story, which might be quite bizarre or strange and might not make any sense at all, which in this case is absolutely necessary. Because you'll notice if you, well, I will say, I'm going to try to use I statements. I have noticed that when I look at the stories that make me suffer, they're all based on this kind of rigid logic that tends to not be open to incorporating new evidence about the world, about myself, right? I've got a story about Jesse's not good enough no matter what happens. No matter how many degrees or accolades I get, no matter how many people love me, I'm not good enough, right? And so we can ride that train for a year, 5 years, 10 years, 20 years, 30 years, past our deathbed. So Zen presents this other opportunity where we can hop from that story into this completely other world, and we start noticing things that we hadn't noticed before. Like one thing that I think of is I can love somebody that I thought I could never love. Or I can allow myself to be angry with somebody that I never thought I could allow myself to be angry with. You know, I can get, one of my big things is anger. Like I'm not cool with my anger. I don't want it to show up. I don't like it. It's scary. I don't feel like I can control it. Holy crap! I can have anger, and there's enough space in the universe for that. And also, just like any good story, it can provide a context for our lives, just to see things in a different way, right? Like fables, fairy tales, superhero stories, creation myths, all of that stuff gives some sense of context to the world, and so koans can do that. And the weird thing is that it's not just a story that you see in your mind. If you spend time with a koan, it will start showing up in your life, right? Or your mind will start interpreting the world using the language of the koan. Sorry, guy. That's another PZI Zen teacher. Which is just a way, it just starts to break the mold, right? Break the limiting mold. So like the Save a Ghost koan, so where I might be thinking, what if I were to take this anxiety that plagues me every day, and I started seeing it in terms of, it's a ghost that follows me around. Well then, how do you save a ghost is very different than, how do I get rid of this anxiety that I hate and can't tolerate, right? One story, suffering. I hate my anxiety. I can't tolerate it. It ruins everything. I can't enjoy things with it. Well, what if? Save a ghost. So it offers other opportunities engaging with life. Yeah. So the koan we have for this month is a long one. I'm going to try to make it not quite so long. And I'll repeat it. I'll say it now, and I'll say it a couple more times when we're sitting. So if you don't remember it, that's okay. The thing with koans for me is that you just trust whatever pieces of it stick to you. It's not about memorizing the whole, although memorizing the whole thing is great, but don't expect you to do that tonight. So whatever pieces stick for you, or whatever impression you get, whatever shows up for you, and in meditation you just spend time with the koan. You just hang out with it. You can repeat it. You can do whatever you want with it. Play around with it. So it goes like this. There's a young woman named Chien. This is back in China, and young woman named Chien. And she grew up, there was a cousin, a male cousin that lived with her and her family, and they were the same age, and they were best of friends all while they were growing up. And when it became time for her to marry, her father sort of found this wonderful merchant who was going to give a great dowry and all that stuff, right? She was going to be well supported and go off and live with this merchant. But throughout her childhood, she and the cousin had fallen in love. And this was back in another time when marrying the cousin was such a big deal. Families were very extensive. It's hard to find somebody you weren't related to, actually. And so she didn't say anything. She loved her father, so she kept it secret that they were sort of in love. And so the night before she was supposed to be married, the cousin was so heartbroken over this that he decided to move away, move down the river. I can't be there for this. So the night before she got married, in the middle of the night, he got a boat and was getting ready to row down the river, and here she comes running from the house with all of her things in a bundle and throws it in the boat and says, "I love you, let's run away together." Of course. So they get in the boat and they row away, nobody knows, right? Years go by, they're living happily together, they have a couple of kids, they're making a life for themselves. He's a woodworker, so he's building beautiful furniture for the people in the village where they live. And she starts wondering about her family that she left behind years before, her parents. And she decides that in order to continue living her life, she needs to go back and sort of wrap things up with them. And he says, "Well, I'll go with you." Okay. So one day they get in the boat, paddle back upstream. There's the house they used to live in. And he says, "Why don't you stay in the boat? It's more sort of honorable if I go up first and talk to your father and let him know what's going on. I want to take responsibility for my part." And she says, "Well, okay." And so he goes up, and he's worried because kidnapped this guy's daughter, more or less. Nobody knows what happened, right? There's no communication. He knocks on the door, and there's the father. And as soon as the father sees him, tears in his eyes, and he hugs the boy, which surprises him. He says, "Oh, I'm so happy to see you." And the boy, who's now a man, says, "I'm surprised. I've come to kind of atone for taking your only daughter away from you, and like, how can I make this up to you?" And the father looks bewildered, and he says, "What are you talking about? She's been here this whole time." What? So the father leads him into a bedroom, and there, lying on the bed, is Chien, pale, laying in bed, emaciated. And he says, "The night that you left, she took to her bed with a mysterious illness and never got up. She's been in bed this whole time." And the son goes, "Well," or the cousin goes, "Well, I gotta show you something." He takes him outside, but before they can get to the boat, the Chien that's laying in bed rises out of bed and starts running toward the boat, and the Chien from the boat runs from the boat, and they meet in the middle, and they become one. And the question for the koan is, which is the real Chien? Which is the true Chien? One who's been lying in the bed, or the one who went off with the cousin. I'm getting a little emotional. I don't know about you. I'm getting a little emotional about that. There's a real, and this, what's interesting about this koan for me is that it didn't, I had a dream not too long ago about a life that I could have had. And it was really disturbing to me in like the best way. And it really stuck with me about this life. And there's all these branches, right, that I could have taken if I would have gone through college successfully the first time, if I hadn't done a bunch of drugs, if I stayed with this girl or gone with this guy to take this job, right? All these possibilities live in my mind about how my life could have been. And in some way they do live, right? That day after I had that dream, man, that was a weight. There was a grief to that. It was almost like I was straddling my life and that life that could have been. And so sitting with that kind of discomfort and grief and that the real friction between that potential life and the actual one that I have, I thought, well, what koan is this? What koan is it? And it's the Chien koan. Which one is my true life? So there's the koan, and there's a little bit about how I came to it, and that's probably enough for me to say. And now we'll do some meditation with it.